if you're looking to buy or lease a commercial property, I work at Sidney Mitchell, and we would aim to provide you with a stress-free process that would allow you to make an informed decision as to how to proceed with your transaction. There are 5 key things that I think arise when you're buying or leasing commercial property. When we're looking at funding a transaction, the things to consider are whether you have a suitable deposit in place for a purchase or for a rent deposit, whether you need bank funding or not. The other thing to need to consider is the cost of stamp duty land tax. Some leases do attract stamp duty land tax. You need to consider if VAT may be payable on the transaction. And you also need to consider ancillary costs such as fit-out works to make the property suitable for your use. It's always important to consider prior to completing a transaction whether the property or the land has the appropriate planning use. Just because a site is being used for an historic similar use doesn't mean that it has that planning use in place, and it doesn't mean that you can use the property for that use going forward. So when looking at statutory compliance, it's not only about you making sure that you have that documentation in place to secure your compliance going forwards, but it's also about asking the seller or the landlord to help you ensure that that documentation is in place at completion, and also if it isn't, to ask them to help share in the brunt of the cost of putting some of that compliance right. So if there has been any change in a property from its original construction by way of extensions, new windows, boiler, anything like that, then we will look at the history of the planning permissions and building regulations and ensure whether any of those have been put in place. If not, we'll discuss the ramifications of that with you and possible solutions. This will allow you to consider whether you still want to proceed with a transaction or to make an informed decision as to potential ramifications of what that lack of planning permission or building regulation consent may mean, or it will allow you to go and get further independent reports. The final thing is there anything that you need in terms of permissions or consents for your permitted use? Now this tends to be industry specific, but it could be something like a CQC registration for the Care Quality Commission if you've got a care home. It could mean an environmental discharge licence in respect of industrial estates, or it could mean an Ofsted registration if you're talking about something dealing with the under 18s. So it's industry specific, and you need to consider whether there's a specific thing that you need in place to allow you to continue with your proposed use going forward post completion. So as you can see, there are lots of things to consider when buying or leasing commercial property. They are specific and different to each transaction, and we at Sidney Mitchell can help you through that process, step by step, stage by stage, to ensure that all of those points are covered in a stress-free environment as possible. If you require any further information, or if you wish to discuss any particular transaction with us further, then please do not hesitate to contact me or another member of the team. We'd be more than happy to discuss it with you and to hear from you.